The sergeant who then opened our vehicle's back door was just in a panic state, and he looked into my face because I sat right at the door at the back, and his first words to me was, "How many are dead?"
You are listening to the Under the Rug podcast with Nalini Tranquim.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Under the Rug. I am your host, Nalini Tranquim, and oh my gosh, we have a special episode in store for you today. I am having a very, very heart-to-heart, raw, straight-up conversation with a beautiful friend of mine who, wow, to say that she has been through hell and back is an understatement. So without giving too much away, I am going to introduce you to Martha Prinsloo. She's actually sitting with her service dog as we speak, and her dog's name is Daisy. So Martha, welcome to Under the Rug.
Oh, thank you so much, Nalini.
Oh my gosh, and you're with your precious Daisy today. Can you explain to us who Daisy is to you?
So Daisy is my service dog. She's a registered psychological service dog, so she picks up on my emotions and any anxiety and so on. So she helps with keeping my complex PTSD down to a level where I can actually have a conversation or cope and actually continue with my daily life events and things. So like going out the house, because that's quite a big one where sometimes I can't go out.
How many dachshunds do you have?
I have 3.
You have 3 dachshunds. So there's Whiskey, Daisy, and
Spartacus.
Spartacus, that's right. Okay, and also, listeners, you have to know, she has a duck.
Yes, I do.
Miss Puddle Duck, is that right?
Yes.
I want you to talk to us about how you ended up in the military.
Wow, Nalini. That's interesting because that was you and me.
Go on.
So, I met you in a church way back in London, and it was at the time when my visa was coming up to have to be, well, it was running out. And then this evening at band practice, I remember it so clearly, we were praying, and at one point you walked over and you just put your hands on my belly, and then basically we prayed, and then afterwards we had a discussion, and I explained to you what was happening for me and what I was going through, and then we prayed again to find something to go and do that the Lord will lead me and guide me and show me clearly, with nothing, to dispute the fact that I might not have heard him right or anything like that.
Yeah.
I took the bus home. The first bus stop, the bus stop was full of Army Be the Best posters. And I thought, nothing of it, left it. When the bus pulled up, on the bus, Army Be the Best, massive advert on the bus. And I thought, okay, hang on, this is a bit weird. When I got off my final bus stop, right, to walk home, the bus stop was covered in Army Be the Best. Then when I walked into the house, put my tea on, pressed the telly, advert, Army Be the Best. And I literally just put everything down and I said, right, Lord, if this is you, the 4th time, like Army Be the Best, how more clear can you be? And it was the next day, I think I messaged you, and then I actually met up with you because you said you were going to be at the church office. So I went, we prayed about it, and literally walked out there, and the bus that passed me was Army Be the Best.
Oh my God. Are you
And I
serious?
literally, right there and then, went to the nearest army office and went and I signed up.
No way. I honestly don't even remember that, so that is crazy. What year would this have been then?
That was in 2008.
Paint us a picture then of what like the first 5 years of being in the military was like for you.
an eye-opener. Everything about life as you know it before the military gets changed. They break you in, basically. I almost want to say is they turn you into a fighting live war machine. And it's amazing because when you are just in your day-to-day life, you are the new military normal and so on, up until you get into a situation, whether it be in training where we do an exercise. The minute that something happens and you've got mass casualty or whatever, sorry, because I went in as a frontline combat medical technician, so I was a medic, frontline medic. Then basically your training just kicks in without you even
giving it a second thought.
Yes. Yeah. So from being the new normal to army soldier, combatant, war machine in split seconds. It's quite amazing that the training that we get is really phenomenal.
The relationships forged in this kind of high intense type setting would be really tight bonds, hey?
Yes. You don't, I think, get the full extent of just how strong that bond is up until one of you are in trouble.
I obviously want to unpack events that happened in 2013, but just take us back in the lead up to 2013.
So in 2012, I was returning from injury. I went skiing with my unit, and I was posted out in Germany. Then I returned to the UK. I was a UK surgeon that operated on me as well. And then I did my rehab. It then became apparent that the military would be deployed to do the Olympics.
Wow.
So we did a lot of pre-deployment training amongst all the training and security training to be able to work at the Olympics.
Wow.
And in the time that we were doing that, I got a phone call to let me know that my father has died. So that happened.
Oh, wow.
Then I went for the funeral, came back, and then Olympics happened. Then the rest of the training, pre-deployment training and everything happened. And then from there, it was deployment. When we went out to Afghanistan, I worked in the ambulance response team. So it's whenever there's casualties on the ground and they phone them through to come in, the call will go through the ops room and the ops room will phone it through to us. We'll get into the ambulance and we'll go to the helipads and wait for the MERT team or so on to bring in the injured via helicopter, Chinooks or the American helicopters or so. And and then from there we'll take them and bring them back to the hospital. We'll follow on treatment from whatever they've done for them in the air after lifting them, and then we'll hand over to the hospital and their emergency team will be there taking them from us. And then I got attached to the bomb disposal guys. So they worked with the remote controlled bomb disposal vehicle. So it's almost like a massive remote control car. Really pretty cool. But in that space of time, things really got heated and stuff. We had one of our medic friends that was in convoy and they got blown up. One of them got seriously injured and they had to have an operation and everything done. But they were and one passed away in that incident. Then not long after, we had another massive explosion. Also roadside improvised explosion device, so IED, and we lost 3.
Oh, Martha.
That was quite
Oh my gosh.
a heavy day,
Yeah,
in all
it
honesty,
is.
because they were radioed to come through. When they radioed it, they were all still alive, still being treated and so on. And seconds before the Chinook landed, I'm getting goosebumps, it came through on our radios in the ambulance to say 3 KIAs, which is killed in action.
Oh my goodness.
So I was, and I'm going to say fortunate, because, you know, I was honoured and privileged to be the last journey from the helicopter to the hospital.
Wow.
For our soldiers. So it's a heavy time out there. It's not. I don't think even the training that we do does not really prepare you for the emotions that you go through within split seconds. Your training is to act, be switched on, do your job, and then assess the situation. You know, if any intervention still needs doing, then you can do it and you jump and you're on top of it.
Yeah.
It's the aftermath.
Right.
The feelings that come with it. Then you think, did I do everything right? Could I have done anything better? You know, are they alive? Are they not alive? Because you don't have that last channel with them. Once you've handed them over to the next chain of evacuation, they deal with it. So, and then that's you, and then you have to change over, switch back on, and straight in with the new situation, next casualties, or whatever the case might be. So you can't stay with that person that you've just treated. But so it was quite a hard time. It was also my very first repatriation that I was part of.
Yeah.
And even though proud to be able to have done that, very nostalgic, very eerie, but in a sad way, but also a nice way. It's really contradictory with all the types of emotions and things that you go through in the process of doing all of this. But it was a beautiful send-off, sad day, but also proud.
Yeah, for sure.
You are listening to the Under the Rug podcast with Nalini Tranquim.
Daisy's obviously picking up that her mummy needs some love and support right now, hey?
Yeah, a little bit.
You good to carry on?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to us about the day everything changed for you.
That morning, it was like a voice was saying to me, Martha, don't skip anything. And you are human. There were days where you'd think, oh, do I really need my ear defense? Oh, do I really want to put my gloves on? It's so hot. Do I really want to do this? I've always had my helmet on and always wore my body armor. I didn't always wear my gloves. And I always wore my ear defense when we were out on the ground. Definitely, that wasn't a skipped thing. And that morning, it was literally, do not skip on anything. You need to have everything. So, which I then did put. I literally put everything on, and didn't miss a thing. And I remember the driver coming to me and he said to me, you look like you are scared or like you think something's gonna happen. And I said, I don't know what it is, I just have this weird feeling for today. And he goes, you're not the only one.
Oh.
Few of the lads who's like that, and he was one of them. So we got loaded, got in the vehicle, and it was quiet. No one said a thing. And for the first 10-15 minutes, and in that time I just thought, right, and I just started to pray in my head.
Wow.
Like literally I remember seatbelt buckled in, mate, felt like that, made sure that it was tight, made sure my rifle was secure in the rifle rack in the vehicle, and I literally grabbed hold of my seatbelt, and I sat there and I just dropped my chin strap to my chest, head down, and I just started to pray. And I mean, I always prayed before I left anywhere within a vehicle to go somewhere. I always prayed. I never did not pray and stuff. But this morning was different. It was like a interceding prayer that had sadness behind it. It was just a different prayer, and I cannot explain it to you. But it was because it didn't sit right. Like there was just something that prompted the earnesty of this prayer. I started smoking when I joined the military. So after my prayer, and it's not because I didn't trust the Lord or anything like that. It was just because my nerves was literally here. And I couldn't get it down to here. Yeah. And my insides was shaking. And I could feel it, but no one could see it, right? So I was just like, great. And I just thought, I'll have a fag. So I literally sparked up in the back of the vehicle. I had a bottle with a little bit of water in. And the guys was laughing and they were joking about something. And I remember sitting and smoking and doing my last puff. And I looked at my fag butt and I looked at my watch and it said 05:38. And I leant forward to take this, to put it in the bottle. And I was turning the cap to close it. And the last twist when it was secured, and my head, everything was down here, and I was just blown up like that in the car. Everything went quiet. It was just this immense ringing in your ears with your ear defense. It was just there, and the smell, it was horrendous. It was rubber, it was soot, it was burning, it was like a car that braked heavily in a car accident. That smell, it was just there. It was smoke. When I got up and like my head was doing a turn to see where the guys were, and Bradders was literally in his seat like this, and I had to say to him, grab the troopy, because he was on top cover, so he was standing upright. He was out the top, and all you could see was his feet going up out of the hole. So he would have been blown out if Bradders did not grab him. So he grabbed him and he got him on hold of his trousers, and as he grabbed and so on, I grabbed onto Bradders to, pull them down, kind of thing. But then as that happened, we were already descending, coming back down. So with that force of bringing down, the troop commander smacked into the plate. It's like a metal plate that jacks up and down for you to be able to be the right height at top cover. So he slammed onto that. Afterwards, we found out that he then fractured his coccyx with that motion, but it was a coccyx and not his life. Yes, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So we all survived it, but there was a panic because we couldn't see anything. Everything was off. Our cameras were off. Our comms were off. We couldn't speak to anybody. We couldn't let them know that we were all right or anything. We didn't know what was going on outside around us. We didn't know if there was more bombs. We didn't know if there was small arms fire going on or nothing, because in our ears everything was ringing because we couldn't get hold of anybody or outside of our vehicle and so on. They actually thought we were dead because they didn't see us. They didn't hear us. We couldn't do anything or anything. And then that happened at 05:38. They only got us out of the vehicle at 11:20, and in that time we were just trapped in there, not knowing a thing, assessing situation, seeing if everybody was all right, trying to get the vehicle going. Nothing worked. We couldn't see because we've got cameras on the side of our vehicle. We couldn't even see if we did have wheels or what the case was or nothing. You just don't know. You're just in this protective shell. That our vehicles are pretty good, and the shell that you sit in is completely armored, like proper armored, and stuff. But when the bomb went off and so on, because in our training you learn about like secondary shock waves and how potent they can be and that they can kill and stuff, but you don't realize like what the extent is or what it actually does or how it feels until you've actually experienced it. And when the bomb went off and we went into the air, you hear the blast. And then because we ricocheted and bounced with the car, because we went down a dip. So we had the guys, only one vehicle at the time goes through. So we had top cover basically as we were going through this ditch. And so it's just amazing like what happens. And that second shock wave, right, it's like, so if you look at an atom bomb, you hear the explosion and then you see the mushroom cloud, right? And that mushroom cloud then creates a second shock wave down the bottom, which is that you can see that spreads over the ground. That's the second shock wave. And that's what happens with a massive bomb that goes off. And that literally rips through you. You can feel it. So your insides, everything shakes. It's not...
That's crazy.
Yeah, the only other way how I can explain it is if you stand next to a speaker and somebody's turned up the bass.
Yes, and you feel that.
And you do an initial...
Yes.
And then it's like that. But just intensified by like 10,000. It's just...
So you guys would have all been on edge then for the duration of that 6 hours that you were sitting waiting, hoping that someone was going to come.
So the reason why it took that long is because the area that we went through hasn't been explored yet, and meaning the guys haven't actually valeted the area. So when they disembarked the vehicles and so on, they all had to be in full kit, full PPE, protective equipment, and then they had to start to valent. So they had a valent, which is like a bomb, a metal detector, to go in, and then they have to mark safe areas where they could walk to get to us.
Right.
And that's why it took that long. And then the sergeant who then opened our vehicle's back door eventually was just in a panic state, and he looked into my face because I sat right at the door at the back, and his first words to me was, "How many are dead?" Literally, and it was they thought, because they couldn't get hold of us, we couldn't get out, we were stuck. They didn't see us. They thought we were all dead.
Sure.
And and then basically when we got out, the bar armor that was on the vehicle was blown up a hill 15 meters away from us. So it was quite significant. It wasn't just a small bomb. It was just,
My goodness,
really surreal, and so on. And then the sergeant started to get a bit like a panic on, because of the seriousness of the situation. Everybody needed to move, and it needed to be quick because we needed to get out of there because we didn't know what was coming. And they've already been there for near enough 5.5 hours. They've marked a safe area, so there's nothing stopping the enemy to basically follow our safe routes and getting to us or anything like that. So we needed to get out. So there was a lot of swearing, a lot of shouting, like how you'd see in a film. And it is exactly just like that. You can't leave any evidence of your vehicle or so on because it gives intel to them. So all of our radios, all of our equipment was in that vehicle, so you have to take it with you. So we had to tow it out and, and get into safety and all that. So it was a long process. Some of our guys got CASEVAC by the Americans, the choppers came in, and so on. I was fine, so I went back with the convoy, and literally within an hour we of just having a freshen up, whatever's still in our kit, still full body armor. We didn't take anything off. Boof, gone back to Bastion. We got to Bastion around midnight, and stuff. So got back to my bed space. Literally took everything off. First time I took my body armor off was in that tent. Not even when we got behind the safe wire, because I was still traveling in the vehicle. I kept my stuff on and went for a shower, and then the next morning when I woke up I was bloated, swollen up like a little barrel. So I went to the med centre to go and see them. So the doctor who I saw made me stand up against the wall because of spinal injuries, etc. They then pushed me through the CT scanner. There wasn't any internal bleeding or anything like that, but then I got admitted because my intestines stopped. So then I came back to the UK, and I challenged a Major Gallagher at the time. Well, he had a look at me basically and said to me, well, you will not be going back out on tour, that I can assure you. Very posh man. And then I said to him, they are expecting me to go back out. I've already spoken to them. My flight and everything is ready waiting for me. As long as I get the clear and the go ahead, then I can go. And he said, well, you'll be a week with us and we will see about that. Anyway, so... He did all these gruesome tests. Anyways, and then this last test that he gave me to do, oh my goodness, I thought I was going to die. But I didn't, I made it. And then I got signed off by 3 officers to say, that's fine, I can go back out. And so on. And he actually came to see me off the day, and he shook my hand and he said to me, I wish more of my soldiers had the dearness and the, not moral courage, but very similar to that, to to go back out and do what you're doing. And he said, I take my hat off to you, I wish you all the best, and come back.
You are listening to the Under the Rug podcast with Nalini Tranquim.
Take us now to that point where you realised something was wrong.
So I started with having a lot of headaches, and then just all of a sudden I'll just throw up. And then I'm like, why did I just throw up? Like, they then thought it was migraines. They would give me migraine medication and so on, and it wasn't. It didn't touch it. And I had electric shocks going up my left side. So then they were like, oh, it's tension headaches. Oh, I went for massages. I did everything. Nothing happened. And with all of this continuously going and so on, I had 2 cancer scares, breast cancer and cervical cancer, which I had to go for. Screening and testing and whatnot, whilst doing my nursing as well. And then they rechecked my hearing because I struggled with my hearing. So my hearing then started to play up. My body then started to go like paralyzed on my left side. I still have a droopy eye. It looked like I had a stroke. And stuff. And then, whilst I was on placement down in Worthing, I was assisting a patient to go to the toilet, and I had to literally stop and say to the HCA who was with me, could you just please have a look at my eyes? And she's like, at your eyes? And I was like, yeah, at my eyes. And she goes, what's wrong with your eyes? And I said, well, I can't see. And she goes, what do you mean you can't see? And I said, I'm blind. And she literally turned me to the light and she went, oh my God. I was starting panicking and I was just like, what is going on? Like, Debbie ran over shut, like literally checked my eyes. She put blood pressure cuff on me. My blood pressure was through the roof. Took my heart rate. My heart rate was literally tachycardic. I was 128 beats per minute. I could said to my mentor, "Do you think it's a stroke?"
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, a stroke. And I was like, my dad died of an aneurysm. Stroke. Is this what's busy happening with me? CT scan again, didn't pick anything up. So they said, oh no, it's not a stroke. So they took me through to ophthalmology to have a look at my eyes, blind as a bat. So my right eye came back, my left eye never came back.
At what point in time did you register that this was to do with the blast?
When we did the brain MRI scans, they initially did the scans because they thought I had MS, multiple sclerosis. So I had a full body MRI scan for my spine and my brain. And then they did a spinal tap as well. So I've gone through all these tests. What's happening to me is exactly the same as what would happen with an MS patient, but it's not MS. It's just where my nerves were that badly damaged that they're actually dying back.
Oh, my goodness.
So I struggled with my speech. So I've done a lot of work with my speech to get that back. I've been under the mental health team since all of this started, 2017. We did a lot of building new neurological pathways. By the time that I left the military, I was bedridden.
And what year would this have been then?
This was 2019, 2020.
So 6-7 years after the event.
Yeah, because it was just not picked up. So for 2 years I had carers 24/7. They stayed in the house, checked in up on me, had to bath me, had to help me get up, had to help me get dressed, had to put body lotion on me. It was a very hard time for me, and I just couldn't cope with it. In 1 week I had 30 different people seeing me naked.
Oh, Martha.
Because they send who is available.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
That bit of dignity and so on, me as a student nurse, knowing all these things and so on, rug completely ripped from under my feet. From being a fully fit, full body abled person who was doing every single sport under the sun, right, literally, from skydiving, AMS skiing, so Army Medical Services skiing, to the football, to the rugby. I played American football, I did everything, and then all of a sudden, complete halt to nothing. Everything's gone. And it's hard because at that time, when that was going on and happening, I didn't just lose my army career. I lost my identity, because I felt, when you looked at my CV, even today, it's still a bit like that, I feel like a fraud, because nothing that's in my CV I can do anymore.
Yeah.
So that was that bit. Then on top of it, I lost my military career. I also lost my nursing career. It was quite hard. And then to feel reduced to an absolute nothing and having to have 24-hour care.
That's horrific. That's horrific.
And in my head, it was like, if I was born this way, I would have probably been able to, to have been dealing with it, because that is all I would have known.
Right.
But I wasn't. I know what it is to walk. I know what it is to be able to wash myself and brush my own hair, blow dry my own hair. And here I am, completely dependent on other people, and then getting frustrated because I can't get the words out to tell them how to do it and what to do. And it was just absolutely horrific. Then in 2019, just before my medical discharge date, I tried to take my own life.
Yeah.
Because it was just
Too much.
and I just couldn't do it
Martha.
I didn't see a way out. At that time, I actually also completely went into a secluded state where I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't pick up the phone because I couldn't. Because in the military, it's like you don't ask for help because you're weak. If you do, you're weak, and you don't show weakness.
How are you even with us today? Like, you know, you were at this point in 2019. So what's happened that you're still here with us, functioning, breathing?
My first time that I reached out was to you.
Yeah.
I messaged you, and that when you phoned, I was actually, and not that I'm proud of it or anything, but I was completely inebriated, and I was sat in the bath, and I did not at that point see a way out. And I think if you didn't phone me and you spoke to me and then prayed, that would have been the night where it would have been the end. And then not long thereafter you messaged and said, oh, I'm coming to the UK, and it just sparked a new found hope and stuff in me.
I remember you saying that you wanted to walk when I visited. You wanted to be able to get up and come to the door. And you didn't just get up and come to the door. You actually came outside when I arrived. I couldn't believe the work that you had put into getting yourself back up again. It was so astounding. I'm all emotional now.
What that actual turn point was, it just took one person to believe in me. Up until that point, I was just a failure, and no one could see past that and could see me as a person.
I think if anything, I always say to my people, just check in with your loved ones. Like, you know, I do that a lot. Like, I'm the girl that messages my people and goes, hey, just checking in. You're in my heart. You know, I'm sure you've received that a number of times.
Yes, I have. And I was like, oh, how nice.
Aww. To be on the receiving end. Yeah.
It just keeps you on track. Sometimes it feels like a bit of accountability as well.
Of course, but there's power in that.
Yeah, it would come at the most weirdest times, and I was like, oh, you've been talking to her again.
Yes. I honestly believe that Father God puts people in my heart, and then it's just my responsibility to follow through and reach out, you know. And every now and again I'll have this conversation with Sandra. I'll be like, have you been in touch with Henry recently? You know, and then Sandra will be like, oh my gosh, okay, let me just reach out to Henry. You know, yeah, it's an important thing. But sweetheart, you have something so exciting around the corner that's happening in September. Can you please just talk to my listeners about this? Because I'm pumped for you.
One of my good friends opened my eyes up to sports that I could do whilst being disabled.
Wow.
That's on the back foot of me pushing my recovery.
Whew.
To be able to walk when I saw you, because that was my actual goal. And then from there it just went to the next level and to the next level. So I went and I did the course at the Battleback Centre. And the lady who worked there said, Martha, you need to go and do the Invictus Games. She goes, even if you don't make the team, you need to go and do it, because what it is you go on a lot of training camps. So every month there's a camp. So you'll have something to look forward to, something to do. You'll be training, you'll be, and so on. And this was after my enlightenment and that re-spark for sports.
So you have been accepted.
Oh, yeah.
This is happening.
Yes. I am partaking in powerlifting, swimming, and I'm doing archery.
That is amazing. Okay, when is it happening?
So it will be held in Germany, in Dusseldorf. And we fly out on the 6th of September. The opening ceremony would be that Saturday. Then we start with all the trials, and then it kicks off the second week. Yeah, and then the closing ceremony is on the 17th, and we fly back on the 18th.
It's just around the corner. So you are training at the moment and you're getting yourself prepared. But while I was in UK just a few weeks ago, it came to my attention that you are in need of some equipment for the Invictus Games that you are currently raising money for. So talk to us about what you need.
So my most immediate need that I've got at the moment is a wheelchair. It will be a wheelchair for my sports, but because it's not for a specific sport, what they've done is they've taken a normal daily chair, but they are adapting it for me.
Amazing.
For my specifications to be able to participate in the sports that I've chosen to do.
You were amazing because you live up north in the UK. We were about to fly out from Heathrow Airport. Our flight got delayed and you drove down to London to have a dinner with us and spend some time with us. And we had the most precious time with you, Sandra and I. But while you and I were catching up after dinner, I remember you just, your heart was heavy because you've obviously loved this whole process of getting back up and fighting now and you know, getting fit again and having this vision of the Invictus Games in September. But at the same time, there was this element of frustration because you need this equipment in order to be able to do the Invictus Games and to do it well. And I could really sense this frustration as you were sharing. And I think at one point I was a little bit harsh, but at one point I just blurted out, well, don't do it then. Just cancel, don't do it. And I think it kind of like threw you back a little and your face just clouded up and I could see the tears beginning to form in your eyes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so horrible. I can't believe I just said that. But your words was exactly what I needed to hear, because you just said, well, then what have I got to look forward to? And I just knew in that moment, well, we've got to fight then. We have to put our fight on now and make sure that you get the equipment that you need. And so I remember saying to you, you do your list, you map out what it is that you need. You give me that number. What is that number that you need to raise in order for you to go to the Invictus Games in September, which is literally like a month away now before you leave? Give me that number. And you did. I arrived back in Australia and it was literally like, I don't know, about a week ago. You sent me a message to all my people that are listening. So ladies and gentlemen, Martha has set up a Just Giving crowdfunding page. She needs to raise £8,500. Listen to this. She's already raised £2,500 out of that £8,500 budget that she needs. And I knew in my heart after we had our dinner together that we needed to capture this conversation and talk and speak about your journey. We've just wanted to hear it coming from you, straight from your mouth. And it is my prayer that our people who are listening to this podcast, their hearts are going to be stirred for you and they're going to want to put action into place. And so for all my people, we're going to make sure that we have a link available on this podcast, on the blog, on all my social media links. We're going to have the link to this crowdfunding. Please, 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 I ask you, get behind Martha. She needs this equipment. We need to raise this money together as a collective so that Martha can get on that plane to the Invictus Games on the 6th of September and have everything that she needs to win. Now tell me this, Martha, let's close with this. depending on how you do at the Invictus Games, what could this potentially open up for you?
So I've already started. I've filled in my paperwork to do Paralympic swimming. So for my classification, to hopefully get that going. Because once I've got my classification, I can start to partake in the competitions and so on as a Paralympic swimmer.
That is incredible.
I'm also looking into doing the Paralympic style deadlifting. So we're busy getting that in place as well. At the moment, I'm busy creating my new purpose.
You are.
And through my new purpose, I want to encourage other people who might be in a hole or not in a place where they thought they'd ever be, and stuff, and show them that there is still hope and there is still life after accident or paralysis or things like that. You must just find it.
Yes.
It took a long time for me to find it because I wasn't looking. It was just because of the mindset that I was in at that time.
Yes, and an understandable mindset.
Yeah. So all I want to do is bring to light the things that are out there. I didn't know about all the adaptive sports that there was up until I really needed it. And it was a hard journey to get where I am now. And if I could save anybody that hard journey and you know, to be where they could be and can be, then I would love to do it. I just have the heart now. And for me, just knowing that I have a purpose.
I love that, because you're not just fighting for yourself now, you're fighting for others.
Yes, most definitely.
Martha, thank you so much for coming onto the show. We love you and we so appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story and just being real and open and honest with us. And girl, we're going to raise this money, okay? And you're going to go to the Invictus Games and you're going to kick butt and you're going to be accepted into the Olympics. This is just the beginning of big things for you. I absolutely believe it with all my heart. And you have got an army of people around the world cheering you on.
Oh, thank you so much, Nalini. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much again for this opportunity. It means the absolute world to me and I am forever grateful.
Aw. Okay, to all my people, I hope you enjoyed today. I know some of it was a little confronting, but hey, reach out. Flick me an email, info@nalinitranquim.com. We'll make sure all the links are included in today's episode. I'll also make sure that you've got access to Martha's social media so that you can follow her journey. And guys, get behind her, okay? She's an incredible, incredible woman. And I'm super excited to see what she does in the future. Okay, everyone who's been listening, I love you. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Under the Rug podcast with Nalini Tranquim.